Okay, good morning everybody. Welcome to Stockradar Stocks on the Move for another week. Today's date is the 8th of February 2024. My name is Richard Lee and I manage the stockradar.com.au website for you. Okay, profiting from a trend. Last week we looked at targeting trends with new highs and trend reversals, and we went through the process of what we looked at there and a bit about the About section. Today I want to actually break down the trades, the setups a little bit so you can see exactly how they work, why I do things and the process I go through. Just try to help you understand a little bit more about what I do. So firstly we'll go to the stock bid count and have a look at that. So, sorry, the top 10 I should say. At the moment we've got Ampol up the top there, Aristocrat, ALU, Brickworks, CBA's in there again, of course, CIA, Cochlear, jump down, jump back up again. That's what happens at the market. Remember, I talked a bit about last week about pullbacks. Pullbacks are challenges to us, they're tests because we always give us doubt, and we've got to make sure that we're strong in how we approach this, that we listen to our stop losses, we have faith in them, and we ride these bumps and these grinds because they do occur. So the market is quite strong at the moment. There are some good stock picks. You can see the ones there, and you can see Cochlear has had a bump down this week, and we can see from our stock pick count, we're up another 4 this week to 51. So we're slowly accumulating stock picks as more stocks come onto the radar and are starting to perform pretty well. So it's quite exciting times, I think, for most of us. I'm certainly enjoying the new year, and I hope you are too, and have got too much anchor bias of what happened in the last year or so. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is firstly go to the overseas markets, and we can have a look at the Dow. Okay, so we had a bit of a blip down this week, no real concern, and as you can see from here the trend is firmly up. We're making new highs every week and the volume's good and momentum's good, so something you don't doubt, you just follow the trend. When you have a trend, you just jump on it and you follow it until it stops. And stops means when your stop loss goes off. So you still have those pullbacks, but we've got to ride those little bumps every now and then. So if we look at the S&P, this picture's pretty well the same here, new highs, good volume, good momentum, all positive there. Nasdaq hasn't quite got back to its high yet, but it's certainly looking very close to it at the moment. So we're sort of, you can see this huge volume that's going through. There's really very little selling here, and momentum is good. So those overseas markets are looking very, very nice indeed. Our market itself, a little bit sort of just fiddling around the highs a little bit, but we're certainly challenging them. We've had a pullback. We've got a new high low there, which is good. We're certainly riding this market. It's up a little bit today, not too much, but it's looking a bit better. The resource has been a bit of a drag there, but generally the market has been a lot better. So we are making new highs, and that's quite an encouraging thing for me. And as we can see here, there's some big resistance here, all these peaks here. If we can establish ourselves above those highs, then that's very, very good for the rest of this year, I would think, basis the index. Okay, so that's the indices. If we go and have a look at the commodities now, they're really, gold isn't really telling us much at the moment. It's still sitting in that range, or just above the range there. It's broken out, hasn't really followed on too much. Volume is a little bit indifferent. Momentum's positive but flat. So we're not really getting much there. Copper's pretty well the same. Had a little try there last week and got whipped back down again. The sellers just dumped on it again. So it's really struggling, I think, copper. And, of course, Brent crude. I know the petrol price is up today quite a bit, but the market's, the Brent crude is going down. So it's really not doing much on the markets at the moment. So thus some of our commodity stocks, apart from last week, the uranium stocks and iron ore stocks are doing reasonably well. So commodities are a little bit off the ball at the moment. Okay, so that's really the overseas markets, how they're looking. Not too positive. Commodities, indices looking great. Okay, so if I just want to go back to my slideshow. Now, last week we looked at the About section. This week I want to go into the actual setups today and break them down. There's a little part in the About section there called Stockradar Strategy, and there it will outline for you. The key elements and principles of my trading strategy, including my setups and how they work. And also the premise, features and benefits, the premise underlying the strategy, the features and benefits of the strategy, and also the portfolio purpose and construction, because because there's a big part of what I do is defining a universe and defining a portfolio size. So there's not an endless stream of stocks you're trying to buy and sell because you've got to run out of money at some stage. So defining your portfolio size and the stocks you cover makes things a lot easier to manage with the amount you hold, things like that. So I go through that a little bit and talk a little bit about that. So that's for that. So let's firstly get into the stocks I want to have a look at and the breakdown. Firstly, Magellan Global Fund, which is a stock that I've followed for a while. It's just a trend that I want to explain to you exactly what has happened. I keep total control of what I do. I don't let the market control me, so I'm always knowing what I'm doing at any point in time. So I'm going to take you through a little bit today of Magellan. Magellan was a trend reversal, so it was reversing a trend from down to up. Okay, so we had a downtrend here. We then go into a what I call an accumulation pattern where the buyers start nibbling away, the sellers get a bit reticent, then the buyers get a bit stronger, and you start seeing a new high occurring here, and then eventually you see a break up above this resistance point, which is where the sellers were holding the price down, and that's usually a pretty good point that will trigger a bit of a rally from there. So you can see here I've drawn a big vertical line here, big dotted vertical line, which breaks up the two sides. One is analysis and one is risk management. So as I said before, my analysis is what gets me into a trade, but once I'm in a trade, it's purely a function of money management. Okay, it's all very nice to have your volumes and your trends and things like that, but in the end, it comes down to your risk management and how you manage that, and I do that with a stop loss. So the analysis is what got me in here. So you can see here, we broke above this resistance point, which is my trigger point. Volume was okay, momentum was okay, and it's also above the average. So my trend intensity would have been about +9, which would have confirmed the trend reversal break. That's enough for me to say, okay, the next week I'm going to buy this. So the Friday gets my signal. On Monday, I then enter the stock on the opening price. I actually do it at about 11 o'clock, a little bit after the opening. I benchmark my profits and losses to the opening price, but actual trading, I don't do until about 11 o'clock because the market settles down a little bit because the opening can be a little bit wild. Anyway, the entry point was 24th of April 23 at 153 for Magellan. Okay, and then I set an initial stop at 15% below that at $1.30. Okay, that's my risk on any one trade, and that's where it starts and finishes. Okay, so from here we hope a trend develops, and in this case it did. So this is a nice example for you to have a look at. So what I'm trying to do here is in the weekly highs here, every week I'm looking at where my stop should be. So if a weekly high goes up, my stop will go up probably about 10 to 15% below the highest weekly close. Okay, and that's how I work it. So my stop is always rising above, slowly rising above as the trend develops. I can increase that. Now there'll be more stop losses through here, but this is just an example of where they will be going. And at the moment, it's now risen up to current stop of $1.85, and the price is currently $2.05. It may go up a little bit more to tomorrow, I don't know, next week. But for the moment, that's where it sits this week. And my current trend intensity rating is 10, which is nice and good. I can see the volume's good, momentum's good, it's above the average, and the trend is up. So all signals are green, so it says trend intensity is up. But the most important thing is this here. This defines whether I stay in or out. At the end of the week, I look at where Magellan finishes. I look at where my stop loss is. If it's above the stop, I hold in it, and I may raise the stop. If it's come down, I may just hold the stop and leave it steady. So that's really how I break down the trade: the analysis, then the money management, because the money management is probably the most important part of the trade. Not losing money, and also not losing your profits once you've got your profits, because we do know when markets come down, we tend to hang on and watch the price go down and down and down. So that's what we can't do. If we're in a trend, we must maximise the potential. It's the old adage, but true. Cut your losses to a certain percent, which is minus 15%, and run and maximise your profits on a trend, which means a trailing stop always makes sure that I'm not getting extra to the top, but I'm just making sure I don't lose too much money on that trend. So that's Magellan, how it looks. As I said, all this volume is nice, all this momentum is nice. It all confirms the trend, but ultimately the current stop is whatever it is. So that's Magellan. If we just have a little look at it, plus a current example of what's happening, if we look at GQG, which is one that you may have a looked at, you may not. It's reversing a downtrend. We had a big accumulation pattern through here. It then rallied up through here, and we saw a break above here back in 8th of January this year. Okay, when it breaks that point, I buy the next high. I buy the open the next week, okay? So you can see the trend intensity would have confirmed the break. The volume is okay. It's a little bit thin this side here, but you can see the volume's okay. It's now picking up even more. Momentum's okay. It's above the average. Even with volume a little bit wishy-washy there, it's still a weight of evidence says the trend intensity would have been at least 8 or 9 at that point, confirming the break. So we've now got a good break, and we're now getting a momentum move here. I think it's up again this week, so we'll be able to raise our stop. So we've set a stop. Once we enter the trade here, we then set a stop 15% below, and as the market moves higher, we then raise that stop. Okay, so that is just purely a trend reversal and how you would follow that with your stop loss and manage your trade, okay? It's very process-driven, it's easy, it's stress-free, it's what you do, okay? So Magellan Global Fund has been a surprise to me as anybody, but it just keeps going higher and higher, which is nice for us. Okay, now the next one I want to look at is Paladin Energy. This is a new high. So the two setups I have, trend reversals and the new high. So the new high here, you can see, if I just go back here, you can see the old high for Paladin was 103. So let's now break it down and have a look at actually what happened when it broke 103. Okay, so a new high inevitably will attract a positive trend intensity rating. It will be above the average, and momentum will probably be good because the market's going up. So it's really it's a fait accompli that we're going to get a confirmation from trend intensity. So the new high is what we're looking for. A new high, a new weekly high, or a new all-time high is all I'm looking for. In this case, it is a new all-time high with a trend intensity rating of 10. So I get the price break, I get excellent volume here, and I got trend momentum positive, and it's above the average. So on the break, the trend intensity is plus 10. Now I go to next week. I buy the trade on Monday morning, and I set my stop 15% below, which is at 93 cents. Okay, so that's where it sits at the moment. So we had probably 10 or 12 weeks of sideways movement there, which not a lot happened, but the stop didn't go off. So we held above this. So remember, we're now in money management mode, not analysis mode, okay? So we're not too worried about anything here until this stop is hit. Now, it was tested, certainly, but it held, and luckily we've now held onto this one, and it's now started to rise quite substantially. It's come off the stop at 93. It's now hitting 143. I'm not too sure what it's done this week. Trend intensity is 10 because the price is higher. Is upwards, it's above the average, volume is good, and momentum is also expanding and running. So that's a trend intensity rating of 10, but the most important thing is where the stop is, and you can see incrementally here where I've risen the stop. It's now currently around about 118, protecting this current price of 143 and protecting our entry of 108. So we're already in profit, which is good, and we mustn't lose that profit. So this is simply a new high from Paladin. Analysis, risk management, and then you enter, and then you follow with stops higher. And I don't know how high this is going to go, but we'll just wait and see. Okay, so you can watch this one and see how it develops. So that's Paladin. So if we look at a current example, it is Medibank Private, and this has been quite a lengthy pattern, this one, because we watched a lot of this last year. For those that watched my videos, Medibank Private came up quite often as a potential new high candidate, and we can see here the new high there was a high back in 2019, and we haven't been above that since. So we've waited 4 years for this to break. So this is a pretty substantial break. It's not a definite that it's going to rally in a long way, but the odds are that it is going to rally, so we set a stop. Okay, so once it breaks through here, we set the stop. We can see the break here. The volume is positive. Momentum is positive. You can see actually all the way through here, this whole move here, the volume is quite high, which is a very good sign. So trend intensity rating is currently 9, and it's just starting to move just above this high at the moment, and we set a stop. So we'll just have to wait and see how this one develops. Okay, so that's one for you at the moment. Okay, so that's my two trades. Now, the whole Stockradar strategy is made up of making sure we're always exposed to an uptrend. So with a trend reversal, sometimes we might get stopped out. And if we get stopped out, the stock can do one of three things. It can go down, sideways, or it can make a new high. Now, if it makes a new high, the potential is for a new trend to develop. And as a trend trader, I must always be on that trend because this is one of my covered stocks. So if it's in one of my universe, I've got to trade it. So in this instance here, I would trade it. So for a stock like James Hardie, which has had an interesting life. Some pretty good trends here. You can see here in December 22 high, and we came right back down here to a low in January 23, and we're now making new highs again. So what I want to focus on is this last move up that we've seen, because this combines the two, the trend reversal and the new high. So remember, a trend reversal is reversing a downtrend. So they always occur down the bottom. So anything following that must be a new high. So here we can see here we had a trend reversal. I'll just get rid of that high there so we can have a good look at this. You can see the trend reversal pattern here broke up here. So we bought it back up here, which is quite high, but still that's what it is. Trend intensity rating was 10 on the break. The break was above the trend reversal here. The volume was good, momentum was good. Okay, so we entered there, but we did get stopped out a little bit later on, 4 months later on, at about a 10% profit. Okay, so this is really, again, you don't know if it's going to go through the roof or what's going to happen, but you still, if your stop goes off, you must get out, because we don't know what's going to happen. It can go down further, sideways, or we can go back up. And in James Hardie's instance, it went back up again. So not being too tied to what's happened previously, we take the new high as a signal. Okay. So we're on to the next trade now. We've been stopped out. We're on to the next trade. We've got a break here. Okay, trend intensity was good. Volume was good, and momentum was positive. Okay, so we buy the entry the next day. We enter the 20th of November at 46.81. Okay, so we always re-enter on a new high. Okay, so now the market's has gone higher, and it's actually made a new all-time high above that December 22 high that we saw before, and we're now up about 26% in 2.5 months. So this is doing very nicely for us, and now we've got a new high, a new all-time high. That's a very, very positive sign that this is going to continue on. So that's how I combine the two, because that makes sure that I'm always in a trade. So it's always important that you only cover a certain amount of stocks, and you only have a certain amount of stocks in your portfolio. Otherwise, you will go crazy trying to follow every stock in the world, and you can't do that. You've got to control things, define things, because they're always stocks moving. You're not going to miss out. It's all this FOMO, all this sort of stuff. It doesn't matter. They're always stocks moving, always stocks to have an opportunity, and James Hardie has given us a great opportunity. So here, the complete Stockradar strategy, the combination of a trend reversal followed by a new high, is Stockradar strategy of always being exposed to a potential uptrend phase, because you just never know what's going to take us. So that's James Hardie, and that's what's happening at the moment. If we go to another one, which has done a similar thing, which is Goodman Group, it had a trend reversal back in early 23. Carried a trend reversal here. We bought it up around here somewhere on the open of this week here. Now we set our stop loss below there. It never went below the stop, so we actually just held into this one, and it rallied up here to around about here. We got stopped out up here. Okay, a bit like the James Hardie. We probably got a reasonable profit here, but not huge. Okay, and then the market, I can do one of three things: go down, sideways, or up. In this case, it goes up again. Okay, so now we've got a new high, so we now get a new entry signal here, and now we've got a new all-time high, and so our trade is now going quite well. And if you're a Stockradar subscriber, you can go and have a look at all these in the trading centre and see exactly where the stops are and exactly how these trades develop. So that's really the three things I want to talk about today: the trend reversal, the new high, and how they combine to make a trend. The most important thing in all of this is that you take control of what you do, okay? You follow your trade plan. Taking a new high is always a tricky one sometimes, but I love taking new highs because often momentum takes it high, as it has done with Goodman and James Hardie. But I'm always working with a defined universe. For a retail trader such as yourselves, you may cover 50 stocks, you may cover 20 stocks. It's got to be a defined universe. If you try and cover everything, it's just too hard to manage. Okay, then you'll also only have a limited amount of stocks in your portfolio. It might be 5, it might be 10 stocks. But if you have 10 stocks and you have $100,000, you divide it by 10, 10,000 is allocated to each trade. So you know how much each trade is, and you know exactly how much money you've got to allocate to your stocks. So it's all about controlling it, and I talk a bit about that with my portfolio service. So that's just an example of what's happening at the moment. The market is going very nicely, and there are plenty of opportunities coming around, and we can see those stocks like James Hardie. A lot of those industrial material stocks have done well. CSR, Boral are doing doing well. A lot of the retail stocks are doing well. JB Hi-Fi, Supercheap Auto, things like that. So there's plenty of stocks around for you to go. And of course, there's stocks like CBA, which for whatever reason, I know that probably 10 out of 10 brokers have a sell on it, but we hold it and we're in profit on it, and it's going up. So I look at price and I don't look at anything else, and that's what guides me. Okay, so that's about all I want to talk to you about today. What's happening at Stockradar? As you said, the newsletter came out last week. There's plenty of stuff in there. I'm just revamping my blog at the moment, cleaning it all up, adding some few new ones. So subscribe to the blog. You'll get new blog updates as they come through, as well as the YouTube videos. So that's always good. So that's about all I got today. Remember, you must have the discipline to follow your trade plan. Don't err. Whatever your focus is, trends or whatever it might be, just don't err. Make sure you keep yourself in the straight and narrow, and that's how it will work out positively for you. Hopefully the breakdown today has helped you understand a little more about how to approach a trade, and if you do have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. Okay, so thanks very much for listening today. Watch your trends, heed your stops, and stay safe, and I'll see you all next week for another round of Stocks on the Move. Okay, see you later.